We gonna load up some 38 special rounds. Yep. Hang on. Alrighty. Cold Steel Bill here, coming to you from the Bob Gnarly 69 channel. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be a little bit of an extension on the video that should be about finished uploading at this point. And it was on basic reloading or reloading and an overage of the basic equipment. Now, the video before that one, which, you know, if you're probably going from newest to oldest, it'll be the second or third one behind this one. I talked about the difference between leaders and representatives. Now, when I did that video, I primed and flared these 38 rounds right here. These are all new brass. Now, I resized a couple of them, but, you know, what the heck. So what we're going to do on this video is go ahead and finish doing these 38 rounds. And then when I finish with the 38 rounds, I'm going to decap and resize these 45 Colt rounds. Now, in the video that I did, like I said, before this one, I talked about all the equipment, okay? I talked about the dies, different types of presses that you can get, and also powder, bullets, and so on and so forth. So I'm really not going to go into that. This particular video here is going to be basically me showing you how the equipment works, okay? This isn't going to be that much on how much powder to use, when to use it, on what. It's just going to be me showing you the basic functions of the machine. Now, we're kind of starting in the middle and going to the end and then coming back with the 45 rounds and starting from the beginning and going to, you know, the middle, to where we're at right now, which will be setting the bullets and crimping them. Now, I've already taken my powder throw and my scales, and I've weighed out 7.5 grains of powder, and I already have them loaded into my cartridges. Okay, now one of the parts and one of the things that you want to do, and I did not do this, was you want to make sure that after you throw your powder, all right, and you put your powder in it, and you've got them all lined up here, ready to put bullets on top of your casing and press the bullets in. Before you do it, you want to make sure you have some good lighting or a little flashlight, and you want to look down into these cases. And as you look down in them, you can tell if the powder in it is uniform or if there's a little more or a little less than there should be. If there is, check your throw and dump this back into your throw and then recharge it and look at it and just make sure, all right? Undercharging it a little bit isn't all that, you know, big of a deal, but overcharging it a little bit could actually mean, you know, blowing out a primer or causing or getting some crimp jump. Okay, so with that said, how y'all like my new cup? I got that for Christmas. I got a good boss. Okay, Cold Steel Bill. Actually, I put the bill on there. This is my favorite part. Okay, y'all read that? I'll turn it slow. Yeah, buddy. And you know that Star Muck's Coffee Company? Liberal tears. Okay, enough of that. So what we're going to do excuse me, is I've already got, like I said, I got this brass, I've got it primed, I've got it flared, and I've got it powdered, okay? So now what I want to do is take a bullet and set it on top of it, put it over here in my round, on my shell holder, select the proper die, which will be my bullet set, and I've already set, as you can see, I've already done, 10 of these across the top. So I'm already set. And I'll show you. As you can see right now, because I flared it, the bullet sits down in it and will hold into it. Okay, that's the purpose of your flare, and getting a little bit of a swedging, if you will, down into the casing. It's so that the bullet will guide down into the brass case a lot easier, okay, and prevent damaging the brass. All right, so I got my bullet started. I bring up my round, bring it into my bullet, or up into my die, and as you can see, I've got it set right at the very top. I don't know if that'll focus on that. Let me back it off a little bit, maybe it'll focus. But I got it set right at the very, very top of my crimp groove. All right, now it's put a taper crimp on the casing from the bullet set. You notice it doesn't have a flare anymore at the top. When you flare that brass, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it has just a tiny, tiny little bit of fluting right up at the top of it. And that's to help your bullet guide down into the case easier. Okay, now this is gone because it's put a taper crimp on it. And this would be good for like an automatic, like a 9mm or something like that. But for like a 223 that has a crimp groove, or this one right here, this is a 38 special. It has a crimp groove, and I brought my brass to the very top of that crimp groove. If I push my fingernail in right there on top of that brass, I can actually feel those little beads in that crimp groove. All right, so as you can see, all right, now I'm going to take it and put it into the factory roll crimp, which is very important for Magnum type rounds. Bring it out. And I don't know if you can tell the difference on it, but I definitely can. Okay? And that is to prevent crimp jump. All right? So we've moved along here now, and we're, as I said, our cartridge has been primed, it's been flared, and now we're setting bullets in it. I'm using 158 grain spear. These are soft, they're lead nose flat points with a bonded, copper jacket. You can use these in revolvers, and I also use it in a 357 lever gun. Okay, so we put it in here. The reason they're safe for that is because of the flat nose. You don't have that point going against the primer of another cartridge on top of it like you have in a tube magazine on almost all of your lever guns. All right, so we come back over here. This is the versatility of having all your dies right here in this one thing. As you can see, I use it as a single stage press. But instead of taking my die out and putting another one in, I just take it. All of my dies are in here. I just take it and move it over to the next appropriate die. Bring it up. Set my bullet. Got a taper crimp on it. Nice factory roll crimp on it. A bada bing, a bada boom. We're ready to shoot. All right. So I'm going to do these. Okay. And while I'm doing these, I want to talk to y'all about the difference between leaders. Now, as I did in one of my videos, I talked to you about the difference between leaders and representatives and how I felt each one of them should be titled and awarded. So tonight, what I want to tell you is there are really two different types of leaders. And in the leading comments on this, you may say, man, are you crazy? But hear me out, and I will explain everything that I say. Leadership. To the best of my knowledge, and this is what I was taught while I was in service, and I instructed at military academies also, all over the country. There's a difference between a military school and a military academy. An academy is just that. It is highly regimented, and military customs, all right, are practiced daily. Passing reviews in the morning, reveilles, the whole 9 yards. But anyway, I'm getting askew. Leadership comes from two different areas. You're trained as a leader, such as you are in the military, or you just have that charisma about you that people are drawn to you. Prime example of that person, Barack Hussein Obama. Now, nothing I say will be reflected of racism, because I'm not a racist person. I will judge you on your character. Now, I won't say that I don't hold prejudice, because I'd be a liar if I did. But then again, if I have prejudice, I guarantee you it's going to be reflected off of an individual's character, not their skin color. So with that said, let's get back to leaders. Leaders have emerged over the centuries. And this is where y'all going to have a knee-jerk reaction, but hear me out. Some of my most favorite leaders, and I mean tremendous leaders, would be Genghis Khan, Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini was a suck-up. No, Mussolini wouldn't be in there. But, with that said, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, Winston Churchill, Roosevelt, Stormin' Norman. These guys, all leaders. Great leaders. Good leaders. No, wait, great leaders. And this is a distinguishing difference. Like I said before, in my mind, the definition of leadership, maybe I didn't finish it, is this: the ability to influence people to do as you would have them do. All right, that's the basic definition of leadership. The ability to influence people to do as you would have them do. Now, I like to add the term willingly. Okay? But there's where your defining difference comes in. A leader can be a great leader, but it doesn't mean that they are a moral leader. Well, I guess maybe they are. All people have morals. But what direction does your moral compass point? Now, as I mentioned before, we'll just say Adolf Hitler, because he's probably the one that most people recognize as being, and even Stalin, as being two of the most horrific people in the world. Okay? The Ayatollah Khomeini, a hell of a leader, but their ideology for choosing their leaders are different. It's a mix of politics and religion, because their religion are their politics and law, and their law is their politics and religion. So you can't really compare that a whole lot as you can to people like Stalin and Hitler and Churchill and Roosevelt. All right. Now, like I said, there are two types of leaders. There's moral leaders and there's immoral leaders. I'm sitting here just running my mouth. So the difference is just that. And let me give you another most recent example. And I might get taken off of Facebook over this. That guy in New York, Como, he held himself during this pandemic as a leader. So much so, he wrote a book about how fantastic of a leader he was. And just, on and on and on. And of course, if you watch the news, regardless of which channel you watch, you understand who I'm talking about and what I'm talking about. Okay? Well, maybe he is a leader, but it seemed to me like he was far more of a totalitarian leader. What would you call those kind of folks? Dictators? Oh, he wrote himself a book. He beat his damn lungs out, patting himself on the back, telling everybody all about how fantastic he was. Well, recent events have proved that he wasn't so fantastic. As a matter of fact, recent events have proved he might be going to jail over this. He sure as hell won't get elected. I promise you that again. I don't know that, because everybody with common sense has left New York, and everybody that can't leave or voted for Como is staying. And for what, I don't know, but the pile of them's headed to Florida. I know that. And with that said, let me say this: you're welcome to Florida. But leave your fucking New York ideology in New York. Okay? I know you ain't thinking like Como, but we think differently down here. So when you come down here, one of the worst things that you can say to a southern bred, southern born, good old boy, even if he ain't a good old boy, all right, is we did things this way in New York. Because the first thing that's going to come out of his mouth, if he doesn't say it, he's damn sure thinking it is, pack your ass up and go back to New York. Okay, and I think everybody kind of feels that way when someone that wasn't born and raised in the area comes in and talks about or complains about something and then says we did it this way somewhere else. It's human nature. Leaders, you got moral leaders and you got immoral leaders. Okay, if you're in a leadership position, where are you at? Okay, a pastor that preaches on Sunday and then pretty much has the character of do as I say, not as I do. That's not a moral leader. Okay. So, pick your leaders wisely. Where the hell? Oh, there it is. Pick your leaders wisely. Okay? All right. We've got these 38s loaded up, pressed in. Okay, we're good to go with the 38s. I'm going to put these up here. I'm going to take this die out. Oh. I'm going to get my 45. Drop it in there. Bring it around to the decapping and resizing die. Bring these guys over here. 45 Colts using Starline brass. Get a different shell plate. I think this is my 45. I have to measure and see. Yep. Replace the shell holder. I run my brass up into my resizing die. I decap it. resize it and decap it at the same time. It's hard to see, but down here at the very, very base of the brass, where it's a little thicker, you can see where it comes out a little bit. And the die comes down to right there and stops. And it doesn't need to go any lower because your brass base starts there, and that's the base of your cartridge here, or your brass. All right, and it's decapped it. It's popped it out. Now, I have, reloaded these things without running them through a cleaner, without even cleaning the primer pocket. But for the most part, I do like to clean the primer pockets out a little bit, and before I reload them. And what I do with them, I flip it over, and put it back in the tray. Now, I've decapped it and resized it. I changed to my next die, which is my flaring die. And if I wanted to, I could actually go ahead and take a weight amount of powder and dump it in it right here. Oh, where's my little thingy at? Got a little thing right there. Stick it in right there. I'll weigh out my powder, or I just get a throw of my powder, pre-measured and pre-weighed. I get a throw of it, dump it in there. Anyway, I should have done that first. I run my brass up into my flaring die, and then I get my powder or whatever. But anyway, I don't dump my powder into it before I run it up into the die, because if I do, it's just going to fall out under it and everything, So don't do that. Don't dump your powder. If you're going to do that, don't dump your powder before you run your brass up into your die. All right, so I've resized it. I've primed it. I've run it up into my flaring die. And as you can see, I have a little bit of a flare on the top of it. And I was looking for a loose 45 round somewhere that I might could show you, but I don't have one right now. So after I get that far with it, and that's generally as far as I go with it at one stage, I'll resize and flare the top, and then I just put it back in the case, whatever. I got another one right here somewhere, but it works like that. And I flip it over, so I'll know that these have been done and these are yet to be done. And that's it, guys. All right. I love you. I mean it. Colt Steel Bill coming to you from the back room here. Thank you for joining me here on the Bob Knowledge 69 channel. Again, this is kind of a part 2 of the video that I did earlier on, or even a part 3 if you want to call it that, on sizing and priming brass. That was in the video about leaders and representatives. And then the one after that is the one about me going over the basic equipment that you can use and buy. And like I said, I use Lee products. And of course, this video is finishing out some of that brass that we had worked on previously and talking to you about different types of leaders. You've got moral leaders and you got immoral leaders. All of them can be great, because a leader is defined by their ability to influence others to do as the leader would have them do. And of course, a moral leader can do it. A charismatic leader can do that. An immoral leader might have to stick a gun to your head to get you to follow them. So, or a knife or a spear or whatever. They use terrorism. Sound familiar? Alrighty. If you like YouTube, do this. Search the rise of socialism in Europe, and it's on timeline. And if you watch that and replace the characters in it, you'll see what's going on around you. Okay, everybody, Colt Steel Bill here, coming to you from the back room. Thank you for joining me on the Bob Knowledge 69 channel. I hope something I've said and done influences you to do good stuff. I love you. I mean it. Au revoir, mi amigos. Adios. Bye.